Good evening. Before we present, I'd like to start with an acknowledgement of country. I live in Geelong, Wadawurrung country. Wadawurrung country. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I live and work, the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to their elders past and present, and to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. I am moved by the enduring connection Aboriginal communities have with country and how this speaks to First Nations people's culture, spirit and identity. Through my work with civil engineering companies, I've had the privilege of supporting Aboriginal people in gaining meaningful employment on large road and rail projects. These experiences have helped me connect with some amazing people and reinforce my belief that everyone deserves the opportunity to pursue their dreams within inclusive workplaces. I believe it is important to do more to recognise and honour our First Peoples. This includes creating more inclusive and culturally appropriate education and content within our curriculum so that future generations grow up with a deeper understanding of Aboriginal history, culture and contributions. By listening, learning and working together, we can build a future grounded in respect, opportunity and harmony. Earlier today, my colleagues presented on Brunswick Secondary College. I'll just wheel through these slides really quickly. There at the middle in K's framework. My section was on Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives. Brunswick Secondary College is a co-educational government school in the inner northern suburbs of Melbourne. It's recognised for its focus on inclusion, wellbeing and equity, and its student population includes a diverse socio-economic and cultural mix, as well as students with disability, LGBTQIA+ identities, and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander backgrounds. The school's inclusion and diversity policy acknowledges the importance of cultural identity. However, while the policy framework is strong and focuses on ensuring students are treated with dignity and respect, there is room to better integrate Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives across curriculum, pedagogy and school culture. Middleton K's six-dimensional framework for inclusive education provides a strong framework for Brunswick Secondary School to make this improvement. Built on the pillars of social justice, empowerment, praxis, humanism, creativity and learning a difference, the framework can be applied to move beyond tokenistic inclusion of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and connect cultural principles such as community, respect for country and storytelling to recognise First Nations people's knowledge as valid and valuable. As part of our approach to incorporating Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander knowledge and culture into our curriculum and pedagogies, I've taken inspiration from across the ditch. My current work situation has led me to New Zealand this week, and over the past 2 months has also given me the opportunity to find out more about how our Kiwi neighbours go about their business. One thing that's become apparent to me is the different path New Zealand has taken in engaging with its First Nations people. Like Australia, New Zealand is a former settlement colony, but unlike Australia, New Zealand has a treaty. The Treaty of Waitangi was signed in 1840 between Maori leaders and the British Crown and is a major part of government decision making, determining that the government should protect Maori rights, include Maori people in decision making and treat them as partners. Maori knowledge, leadership and language is included in schools, healthcare, environmental planning and throughout government departments. Australia does not have a national treaty with its Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. It does have a plan called Closing the Gap to help improve life for First Nations people, though the description of this program alone invokes a sense of deficit discourse. In addition to treaty, New Zealand also has developed an inclusive education framework which focuses on integrating Maori language and cultural practices into classroom programs as part of a broader focus on co-designing culturally sustaining environments for Maori learners. This framework shares several parallels with Australian education frameworks and could be built on to provide a richer educational experience for Australian students. Culturally sustaining pedagogies in New Zealand align somewhat with Australian curriculum and AITSL standards, which encourage culturally responsive teaching that values Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives. This could be applied at Brunswick Secondary College by embedding Aboriginal teachings, history and culture into classrooms and co-creating learning experiences with local Aboriginal leaders and community members. Language inclusion could also be incorporated by promoting Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander languages where possible. At Brunswick, this could include the use of Weaverrung language in greetings, signs and classroom routines, or by inviting language custodians to teach basic vocabulary. Cultural identity and expression is prevalent throughout New Zealand via dress, tattoos, respect for cultural leaders. Respecting Australian First Nations cultural symbols, dress and practices could be achieved by meaningfully celebrating NAIDOC Week, Reconciliation Week and other cultural events, by respectfully encouraging students to wear cultural items to school celebrations or to tell their story. Brunswick Secondary College could benefit from partnering or engaging with local Aboriginal organisations and co-designing curriculum units with local Aboriginal educators. Building on this, the school could use student voice and place-based learning via excursions or encourage students to share their stories and cultural knowledge to connect curriculum to Aboriginal history and culture. These approaches and activities would fit into a broader framework for Brunswick Secondary College that responds to Australian education standards and genuinely incorporates Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives into its curriculum and pedagogies. Here is our proposed inclusive education framework for incorporating Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and perspectives. We start with a vision statement. Brunswick Secondary College is committed to honouring Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander histories, cultures and languages through inclusive, respectful and culturally sustaining education. The key pillars of this framework are cultural integration, where we seek to embed Aboriginal perspectives across all learning areas. Language and communication, using Aboriginal language where possible in daily routines and in signage and writing. Cultural safety through the creation of spaces for cultural expression and identity. And community engagement and collaboration with Aboriginal leaders, organisations and families. And professional development. This is a key driver for successful implementation and will involve training staff in cultural competency and inclusive pedagogy. Implementation will involve auditing current curriculum for Aboriginal content, developing a reconciliation action plan, hosting cultural immersion days, introducing inclusive infrastructure such as a yarning circle, encouraging students to be part of an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander advisory group. Educating non-Indigenous and First Nations students about Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures is essential for reconciliation and aligns with the Australian curriculum's increased focus on Indigenous histories and cultures, which aims to foster understanding, respect and connection. There are some potential barriers and enablers in relation to our framework. Barriers may include non-Indigenous teachers feeling uncertain or fearful of getting it wrong, leading to avoidance of topics involving Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander history, languages, culture and other topics. Potential curriculum overload, and should teachers struggle to prioritise First Nations people's content without adequate support. Inclusion and promotion activities could lack authenticity if the school is unable to establish a strong relationship with the local Aboriginal community. But on the flip side of this, there are some fantastic enablers. And this could include ongoing training for teachers in cultural safety and First Nations pedagogy, a commitment from school leaders, including modelling of inclusive values and allocation of resources, and student voice through empowerment of Aboriginal students to share their stories and help shape school culture. To strengthen inclusion of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students and perspectives, Brunswick Secondary College should embed Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander knowledge across a range of subjects, not just humanities. They should seek to use local Aboriginal knowledge and consult with leaders. Implement project-based learning activities that explore Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander history, science, art, and other subjects. As mentioned before, develop a reconciliation action plan. Celebrate significant dates such as National Sorry Day, Mabo Day, Reconciliation Week with student-led events. And prominently display Aboriginal flags, artwork, and acknowledgements of country. Provide cultural competency training for all staff, as mentioned before. Create peer learning circles for dialogue and inclusion. We could use the yarning circle. Establish a student-led Aboriginal leadership group. Offer mentoring programs with Aboriginal role models. Support student-led reconciliation and anti-racism initiatives. They'll be more powerful. Embedding Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives is a moral and legal requirement for schools. Following our recommendations, embracing culturally responsive pedagogy and empowering First Nations people's voices will help Brunswick Secondary College become a model of inclusive excellence. Adopting this approach will also ensure the school aligns with the Victorian Education Department's framework for improving student outcomes and support the development of critical, compassionate and culturally aware citizens. Pass on to Rowan, who will look after socioeconomic status. I understand you did a really good job. Stephen brought this home with gender, did a great job. Here is our list of references. Thank you, and I really enjoyed this subject.